Hi, my name is Greg. I'm a VDC subject matter expert here at Autodesk, and I wanted to talk through something that gets brought up quite a bit, and that is Revit container models, and just when and why would you use one? So let's start with this, and let's say you are a general contractor, you're the BIM manager, and you've got an architecture firm that has an Autodesk Construction Cloud platform set up. And in that ACC platform, they have some design models. And it could be the architect's model, mechanical engineer, electrical, plumbing, structural, whatever design models are in there. And you, as the general contractor, you also have an Autodesk Construction Cloud hub. And you need to get those design models into your hub. And maybe there's a few things you want to do with them. Maybe you want to be able to use these in model coordination. And whether you're doing that in model coordination or in Navisworks, and you want to be able to use either the Revit file or the Revit views or NWCs. So we're trying to get this over to here for this purpose, or maybe, and it could be just to get the models to use for viewing the model and whatnot. So there's a few ways we can do this. Some things that work and some things that don't work. When we're sharing the model from one hub to the other, one option is bridge. We could move it with bridge. We could drag and drop. We could also even just upload it straight into ACC. And that could just be whether it's a download or an upload. And even maybe the architecture firm doesn't even have the construction cloud. And their models live in their own servers, and they're getting them to you through a different platform or whatever it is, and you've got to get them into your hub. So what is the best practice for when you're getting these design models and using them in your construction cloud? Well, let's talk through that. So we're going to do what we call a container model. And that container model, it's going to be an empty Revit model that is going to have those design models linked in. And once I link those models in, I'm going to create some 3D views. I'm going to export those views out as NWCs, and I'll use those in my model coordination tool for 3D coordination. Whether I'm doing that in model coordination or Navisworks, I'm going to be using going to the NWCs. Now you might be asking, I could just use the Revit views to be able to do this. And yes, that is correct. You could use the Revit views right from the Revit model in model coordination. However, if the views already aren't built in to these design models, and you're going in and you're adding those in every time you get a new model, you are taking a lot of extra time. And as a BIM manager, we just don't have that time, right? So that is not best practice. You want to be able to bring the updated design models into your hub, let the system control the versioning, and be able to use those Revit models to create your backgrounds for model coordination. And so best practice is with those to do NWCs. So here's a little diagram that just talks through it, and then I'll do an example. I've got my design models. I got to get them into ACC docs. I am going to be using my desktop connector to sync those files to my desktop. I am going to open a blank Revit file. I'm going to link in those Revit models. And then I'm going to go through and create 3D views that I'm going to be exporting NWCs with. I'll export those NWCs. I'll get those uploaded into docs, into my coordination space. And then from there, I can go into model coordination and do my work. And as I get model updates, I'm going to just follow that exact same process, except for my Revit file will already be built. I'll simply open the Revit file where those design models are linked in, do a quick export of the 3D views, or excuse me, of the NWCs, and get those into docs. Now, let me go into Revit and talk through that. So here I am in Revit. This is a cloud, or excuse me, a container model. If I go to my manage links, you'll see I have all of my different design models that are linked in from my desktop connector. I'm not linking these in from the cloud. I'm just linking them in from my desktop connector. Once I do that, I am going to go through and create my 3D views. Now over here on the left, you can see I have my architectural views and my structural views. I really like breaking the model down by level. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And here's my architectural one. And there's multiple ways to go through and break the model down. I could just turn on my section box and crop it. And that's all I've done. And then I've copied that view, moved my section box so that I can get a little bit above the floor line and a little bit above the floor line up above. And the next thing I'm going to do, once I have my views all set up for my different levels, I am going to do a view template. And in that view template, I'm going to control what I'm seeing or not seeing. I believe it is very important that view templates be used when we're exporting these NWCs to clean up the items that we don't need to have in the model during coordination. Now, every project's different on what that could be, whether it's furniture or landscaping or site stuff, whatever is determined in the BIM execution plan that needs to be on or needs to be off, get that set up in your template. And then also on my links, you'll notice that I'm only showing my Revit file and turning everything else off. And then I'm going to make sure to apply that template to all of my architectural views. My structural ones have a view, and that's been applied to all of them. Once I've done that, I'm next going to use a free add-in from the Autodesk App Store, and this is the Bird Tools a batch export tool. And this is a free Navis export. It's awesome. You do have options with publishing to NWC that's built right into Navis or into Revit. The problem with this one is it doesn't let me really control the naming, and I don't want 3D view in there. I can go in and manually do that, but by the time I go through and do that, I don't want to waste that time. So I don't like that I can't control that and rename it automatically without manually doing it for each of them. I could do my Navisworks exporter, and that's going to go through and export just the one view, and that's going to take too long. That's not going to be fast enough. And so that's why I prefer the Bird Tools exporter. And there's the NWC. It's going to let me do the one. I'm going to cancel that. I'm not going to do it. I'll go to the Bird Tools. I'm going to do my batch export. This is going to let me go in and select what it is I want. Now, I can do a batch export where I don't even have to have the files open, or I can just do export current model. And this is going to show me my views. I'm going to just select all of those 3D views that I want exported. You'll notice down here, my view name is all that I'm going to get. I could add a prefix. I could add the model name, which would then add a whole nother phrase before it. And again, I'm doing my best to just keep this very concise. I could add a suffix. You'll notice I have all of these different options. I can pick where it's going to drop. And in this case, I could just right within my desktop connector save those NWCs, and that will sync right back up to the cloud, and I can use that in my coordination space. So once I hit proceed, that's going to go through and export out each of those NWCs and named the way I want them. Okay, so as that goes, I'm going to go into the construction cloud now. And back into it. So here I have in docs, in files, I have a VDC folder set up, and here are my coordination models. And inside of that, I have it broken down with two other folders, design and trade. If I go into my design models, here are my design models that I've received from my design team. Again, I'm just going to drag and drop and update these. I'm going to make sure that the naming is the same so that I do get my versioning control with it. And then I can use a lot of the Autodesk Construction Cloud Docs tools as I view these Revit models. And I'm going to go to my, let's see, and this is actually where I have my some of my NWCs saved. I'm going to go to the trade folder, and this is where I have my general contractor folder. And in here, here's my container model for design NWCs. This is the file that I had open in Revit. And as I export these out, I'm actually going to save these to my design models folder. Now, I'll get into this in a separate video. I'm doing that because my trade folder is currently set up as my coordination space. And I want to be able to see those design models within my trade coordination space because they're my backgrounds. My design folder is also a coordination space just for design coordination. And so I am being strategic on where my models are located for what I'm going to see with with model coordination. So, okay. So that walks us through the whole process. As I get updates, again, I'm just going to get the new models into ACC from the design team, re-export the NWCs, and from then on, I'm just going to be refreshing my views in model coordination and in Navisworks to be able to work with those latest files. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is greg.low@autodesk.com. That's greg.low@autodesk.com.